Good evening. Before we begin, I was asked a question by a former colleague about the book. I felt the astute nature to answer it. What is poetry most foul, they asked. Is it an indecent act, words which specifically intend on demoralizing or corrupting the viewing spectator? Though I cannot say. I will refer you to the great mind of a prophet and clairvoyant who unfortunately could not see the end and was hung in 1842 by a group of parishioners seeking a return on their investment. The blunt truth instrument, the street rapper, the incoherent screamer, and the paid performer have always seemed to me positively indelicate. Poetry is a fine art and needs the embellishment of a sophisticated imagination. The true aficionado prefers to have his nerves ruffled by the implied threat. The bourgeoisie rather than the syndicate. What is more delightful than a domestic, well-read poem, when it is executed with subtlety and imagination? I ask again. I leave to other more pedestrian talents materials based on the audience's account. True poets. Alas, most of them are dull and give no evidence of the careful planning and loving thought that should go into any human activity as rewarding as poetry. Artemus Whitmore. It gives me great pleasure to now introduce to you a poetry book of an unusual nature. I have collected the most foul literary writings humanity has to offer, and compiled a collection of the inner workings of some of the most infamous minds. Ex-convicts, priests, street babblers, politicians, thugs, mother-in-laws, etc. The contents of this literary collection are intended to inhibit a vulgar response or a sensation of moral indifference to right and wrong. There's a large segment of the species Anthropus that revels in just such a sensation, I know. For many years, purveying the ingredients of the macabre has been my livelihood. The contents of this book may even induce a sense of horror or shock by such foul writings. But rest assured, you will remember the poems with either pleasure or trauma. The trauma you will experience is expected. I, however, am not certain of the reason for this pleasure. They tell me that we are descendant from some marauding prehistoric monster. Perhaps so. I am not an anthropologist. I do, however, know that if man wishes to stay on a self-righteous path in the 21st century, he must satisfy his primitive instincts in a more civilized manner. That is, and should be the purpose of this book. If you are timid, you will find a good selection of The Dog's Big Day at the Park, or How Giraffes Smile at your local bookstore. If, however, you enjoy tingling excitement, lock the doors, close the windows, turn the page, and begin. Now, without further ado, I present to you Poetry Most Foul.